afternoon. It is Shirley with Spirit of Matter, and this is an episode that I have been actually avoiding. Okay, it's something that I wanted to talk about. But the reason I've been avoiding this is that I somehow believe that I would not need to record this episode, that it is self-explanatory, that it doesn't need to be said. But I see that for the world today it needs to be said. And this is Jupiter Day. It's the day where we're supposed to be happy, joyous, with Jupiter approaching Aldebaran, Gemini. And yet I feel that this needs to be said with Mercury here close to the midheaven in Leo, Sun applying to conjunct Sirius, Moon with vertex 8th house, Jupiter 8th house, Mars 18 degrees 7th house, ascendant ruled by Mars, midheaven ruled by the Sun, and Lilith in the 12th house. It's an episode that I'm really saddened that I need to make, but I want to begin, and I will present the topic. And since now Uranus is where it was between 1939 and 1942, it could be appropriate to talk about this. 2007, I was doing nothing, just editing a book of my parent, writing a screenplay, and with another person, and alongside that, some music, not much, not commercial in any way. And I heard a person covering song Pela Ciao in German, very moving for me. Immediately, I had a Bulgarian friend. I said, you have to listen to this song. She told me I cannot listen to German. And then she told me that this Partisan song, it was Bella Ciao. And she said, well, the Partisans, they were raping and slaughtering whole villages in Bulgaria during the World War II. It was completely shocking discovery for me because I'm third generation. Okay, part of my family Jewish, a part Christian, a part atheist. And for the Jewish part, the grandpa, he was Holocaust survivors. He escaped through Italy, and the partisans helped him. He had typhus in the forests, so it's unlikely that he managed to rape anybody with his medical condition. But the partisans were helping him to escape. So to them, they were heroes, the resistance. And so that story of the partisans, but if I didn't have Bulgarian front, I would never know. And this story comes back in mind, okay? The fact that partisans were helping my grandpa and Holocaust survivors, or people who escaped the Nazis, doesn't justify that they raped, that they slaughtered villages of indigenous people who lived in Bulgaria, indigenous people to the area. It doesn't justify, for whatever the resistance, all these atrocities. And perhaps it's very likely that Hitler got so much advantage because they were not much better than the Nazis. To the Jews they were, but not to the people that they conquered. What's the difference? Raped by Germans, raped by partisans. And so with Algol and Uranus, the god of the sky, and let's check if Algol is minima today, because I believe she might be, as might be fated for me, therefore, to talk about. And today, yes, discussion and talk about resistance, because I think resistance to oppression is a global issue right now with Uranus Algol, and talk about the importance of willing consent and the importance of not raping. If you want your resistance to be successful, it should be obvious. And it doesn't matter if it is tribal war or indigenous people or indigenous against, I don't know, colonialists or amongst colonial empires. Those things that should be obvious are important to discuss, because I want to take that just from the personal case, okay, for the painful case, to the larger case. And for the larger case, the the Urano-Algol, okay, Urano-Algol is definitely about resistance, is definitely about revolution, it's definitely about material revolution and ideology that is materialistic or unusual relations between spirit and the matter. So you think about the difference between the communism of Russia and the communism in China and the communism in North Korea, okay, the Jiaoshe, which is now more and more relevant because North Korea now sent troops to Europe. So you're going to get to know for what this ideology is in praxis. Okay, of the difference between the materialism that is supposed to be for the masses, okay, owning the means of production. How did China take United States? By walking, but basically by owning the means of production, with the tremendous price of child labor, of slavery, which is going to be to the detriment of China becoming big empire, because people are going to expect for the BRICS to take on the role that United States attempted to take, but for real, not washing. People want human rights. Okay, this was also between 1939 to 1942, was the time where Adolf Hitler arrested Baron Rothschild, the big banker. Okay, maybe the Satanist, maybe the one who sacrificed children. But where were that leading? Jews were voting for Hitler. They wanted also working rights, and said, oh yes, he doesn't like Jews, but what will we do about this? Maybe nothing. Whereas they actually did steps to arrest certain bankers, okay, for putting Germany in such trouble, for how the banking system, or the corruption. But then the war came and he exterminated Jews, amongst many other people. Okay? And I will also go as far as say, but I don't know what was the culture in Judaism. Were the child weddings? We know in North Africa the costume of child weddings. The children, the women married very young and to older men. Yes? like in large segments of Arabic and Bedouin society, and maybe indigenous society, that nobody wants to talk about. It's just colonialism, colonialism. Let's talk about the things inside that perhaps if we change, we can abolish all types of apartheids, colonialism, democides, genocides. Okay, so I'm not saying this to provoke or to get people mad, but these things need to be addressed if we want to see change. And for the key for the Urano Algol is how we treat the people that we call crazy. Is how do we believe people when they tell us of stories of spirit and matter that are unusual, Uranus? Do we go for housing first and open dialogue that is proven to treat psychosis, no drugs, and make of people psychics if they are, or just live their life normally, independently of ability to work, and then when they recover, they do something that they like with themselves? Or do we go Basil van der Kolk? Oh, there is class war, and it's okay to rape. If you are oppressed, it's okay to rape. Okay, who does it serve? WHO, WEF, the people who trade for making you have sexual trauma, so you will have blocked abundance, so you will not step bare feet on the soil, so you will constantly be trapped in cycles of greed and industrialization, so you will not have connection with anything that you find that's beyond existence, mere existence, like the crown chakra, okay, like the spiritual aspect of life. It doesn't entail religion. And so your identity is compromised to victimizer and victim. We think the elite, the 1%, they have financial freedom, they have all the money, they have this. They cannibalize, rape, torture, practice expandable children, and they target their own children, their own bloodline, to rape the children that are bougie, that are fancy, that are of the good bloodline. And so the more royal bloodline you have, the more in danger you are as a child to be tortured, to be raped, to be electrocuted, Uranus. That's expandable children, but not only expandable children, trade in child organs. Sacrifice, ritual sacrifice of children, of what we call the elite. Not just whites, but not just not whites. That's the 1%. So, well, yes, this is a time where weird ideologies, unusual ideologies around spirit and matter, around will and consent, all kinds of, okay, it's kind of like chaos that brings everything to the surface, and there is a storm, element of storm. Okay, by the way, for those of you who work with African deities, Oya is goddess of storm. Zeus, Thor, god of storm, thunder. Yes, I don't remember for the name of African god of storm. Very appropriate, because storm is lightning and thunder. Lightning and thunder both are to do with Uranus and to do with Algol, which is to do with electricity, because lightning is the electricity in the sky. It's the grand nervous system. Why do you have to step bare feet on the soil to balance the nervous system? This is grounding. It's electricity. Why do they use electric shock? When they program children, when they rape children on snuff movies, but not on snuff movies also, but to program them, listen to testimonials of survivors. Because the mind is made of electricity, and then Uranus shock to the electric system. And then people have various identities. and they can repress things and so on, and they're programmable because they don't have connection to root, and their relational patterns are disorganized. And then when they find it difficult to exist in the body, then sovereignty is okay. For they were programming people way before they were programming robots, and so anything that enables expandable children, also as adults, then this is by spirit, by idea, and by praxis. Okay, so it was the ideas that says, oh, if you are the oppressed, it's okay to rape. Okay, there is difference between if you don't have food, for to steal food. If you don't have place to stay, to sleep safe, for to be some place where you're safe. Okay, breaking. Yesterday I was talking with a woman that had some real estate. I said, I have a friend, can you help her? She's targeted individual in Israel. And what they do, they hunt the person by the family, because the doctors will say, if the person doesn't take this pill, which kills them, then they will die. So the family says, oh my God, we have to make sure they take the pill. And this is how they hunt individuals as well. And so she had no place to stay, and that she was targeted, so she was also filmed in her own apartment. And I believe her. There are these stories. So we're looking for a place to stay. And she said, yes, the real estate person, she said to me, yes, there are abandoned houses. I don't know, because she doesn't have children, if they will let her stay there. But here there are abandoned houses where she can break into, so she can have a place to stay. Yes, something. Yes, of course, when you're oppressed, then you need to steal. Then sometimes you need to rob. Sometimes you need to commit crimes. It's a part of the reality of life. But when it's for to rape, then this is already putting you in cycle. It will be very difficult to get out of. Okay? Because if you had to steal food, what you do? Charity. I had to steal food. Now I give charity every beginning of month. I buy food and I give it to people who are homeless. Then you can, yes, I help the people with, if they need a place to stay, to connect them with people who know where are places that they can stay. I'm not a genius in this, but for these things you can correct. But when you do sexual violence, both the perpetrator, which is programmed in the case of expandable children, in the case of resistance, you understand that this was also, there was like Boko Haram, so the partisans were like more like Boko Haram rather than the heroes that resisted the Nazis. And yes, my grandfather would not arrive safely in Israel without help of partisans. It's true. With his state, with how he ran away from Poland to Italy, I don't think there was blood in him to rape anybody. He was sick in typhus and drinking their own piss and so on. He didn't even talk about that time on more than only once. And to my mom, not even. Okay, so yes, it was not him doing that, but for the people that helped him, they were. They were. And when you begin to interfere with somebody's root chakra, sex chakra, you are not engaging in a duel, in a fight, definitely not in liberation. Okay, liberation is grounding into the soil. So you can be connected with the ground, so you're present, so you're safe and free. That is liberation. The process of grounding and being safe and free and present in the body is just speaking up the truth. That is liberation. We give housing first. It doesn't look fancy. It looks like a whole lot of videos, a whole lot of blogs. It looks like sometimes lying in your bed for hours because you're too tired to get yourself a cup of water. Like setting your feet on the soil and just standing there, or sleeping in the soil, like sometimes having difficulty to shower because you don't know if you put yourself in the shower, will you be able to get up and get rest. That's liberation. That's the process. It's not glorious. For the people like Ronald Bernard that escaped the cult and went through torture, and then they had to recover, that's the process of liberation. It's not glorious. It's not fancy. For we do not glorify our freedom fighters because it doesn't look like they're doing anything when they're lying hours, or they're doing hours of work, but they do it neglectfully because they are so agitated in the body, then they cannot do anything effectively so much. Because they bifurcate from being excessive to being exhausted. That's the process of liberation. You want to look for the freedom fighter. These are the freedom fighters. Everybody glorified Julian Assange when he was leaking, when he was active, when he was functioning. Yes, but when he was in Belmarsh, who remembered? Other things took the scope of the events. You didn't hear about this on the news. Until Trump had to compete, until Biden had to compete Trump again. Not very glorious. Not David and Goliath. A series of calculated political moves into which you slide in the car that gets you this person out of prison. That's your freedom fighters. It's not glorious, it's not glorifying. And they had to plead guilty for espionage, for doing journalism, to get the fuck out of prison. And they can talk about journalism in Gaza. Can they talk about the 8 hours that it took for the IDF to come when there were ritual sacrifice, global ritual sacrifice taking place on the land where the villages, where the parties, where peace activists were living. But because they normalize Jewish people being alive, then it's not peace activism. No, this is normalization of what? Of people existing, of Jews not being slaughtered continuously. Glorified resistance, infiltration of Mossad. That's what it was. Safe October at Gaza. But if you don't understand that rape is not resistance, then you don't know what's going on in the world, or you don't know to identify actual freedom fighters, actual resistance. Because usually we don't even call it resistance, we call it innovation, entrepreneurship, because what keeps us alive is not the anti. It's the what do I have in mind? Okay, what do I want to do when they abolish child trafficking? What do I want to do? I can finally have a business. Oh, I can finally do something with myself. Because my wealth will be coming from wealth, not from tortured children, from trafficked children, from raped, electrocuted children. And my taxes will be paid for infrastructure, for things that, whether it's taxes or charity. Whether it's to government, whether it's to other form. Okay, for my charity will be going of where it should be going. Not to be compounded interest by the same things that later becomes Maui, 7th October, CASA, who is Israeli-Palestinian Chamber of Commerce. It was the person who was in the head of it was ex-head of Shabak. Kiasa was doing apprenticeship there. He said to me, you see this whole peace thing for trade. It's money. So this is how we might get peace. He was ideology for peace. He wanted peace, but he said to market it to people, I need to do business. Because for them it's all business. They make business with Palestine. Israeli businessmen, but not only, okay, Paris Center for Peace we were working with, is how we use business for to market ideology of good relations. But why would somebody want to annihilate from the core something? It's because it's good money. We put people in live or die situations, then they believe in they are doing just war, in existential war. Oh, existential war is like Hitler, it can last for years, forever. And then you pass the torch. Mark my words, if they do Palestine like this, they will have significant placement, even moon on Algol. 80 years from now, Uranus, 84 years, Uranus on Algol. Good morning, Nazis. Now you're in watermelon colors. But they planned this. I know it because I'm an astrologer outside of the cult. This is why they do standardization to shamanism, to astrology. So you cannot speak outside of the cult, because what is the structure? What is academic degree? Okay? If you get your education, you have to be in fraternities. I was not in fraternities. This is why I was dealing with the Me Too stuff. Mars is applying to conjunct this Uranus and Algol. Yes, they are predicting big war. It doesn't have to be. Okay, if you watch Lada Doncheva, okay, Bulgarian astrologer, she talks about Mars and Algol as Mars is to sever ties, to cut something off your life, and Algol is the head was cut, so to cut something off your life that's no longer serving you. That's what you could do with it in your private life. You see where's Taurus in your chart, okay, Venus still in Cancer right now. I think she would be either Cancer or Leo. Now you see where's Cancer, Leo, where's Taurus, what's Mars ruling, where's Aries, where's Scorpio. What are you severing ties with? The unjust. Cutting off from your life. Just make sure you don't do the ritual on the minima, okay? With the Algol minima, you check, minimize the eclipse. We don't do magical work with eclipses, okay? It's fated energy. It's a very powerful energy. You want to be a daredevil, okay? I'm not going to, but just understand this very powerful star in general. This whole combination is very powerful. Remember, World War II, we didn't like it. What happened after World War II? 2 generations of men dead. Women would vote. They had their own assets, their own bank account. Okay? We industrialized. We didn't like it. But it also meant that you could run a business more automatically because you have machines if you had some money to buy machines. Investments, okay? The changing of the gold standard, it created a lot of problems, but also created a lot of accessibility for investments. It wasn't there in the financial crisis. And a lot of other problems, okay? Medical investments, Pfizer, medical welfare, Pfizer, okay? But there were many things that now, why do people deny Holocaust? It's not because they're anti-Semitic. It's not because the people, the Holocaust deniers, it's not because they're anti-Semitic. It's because they traded in children, that they are a part of the cults where you rape children, pedophilia cults, sacrifice of children. Yes, they want to continue on doing that. Not just Jewish children, all children. But the Holocaust, it exposed for Dr. Mengele, was basically smuggled by the Inquisition away from Germany. Yes. The child trafficking, the medical warfare, the experiments, what they did, how they did mass killing, the working, exposed many things, not just in Germany, also in the United States, medical experiments in people. Not just the black people. For the elite, they target their own children for this, because they want to rape the fancy ones. But if you deny Holocaust, then you don't have to talk about this. It's nothing to do. It's not was done only to the Jews. It was only also to the disabled. It's a can of worms. And if you read Mein Kampf and if you listen to Hitler, his speeches, one of the greatest orators, knew how to connect with the common person from being a passionate speaker and genuinely having, what there was very likely satanically ritual abused himself, so for the personalities that were creating big rapport with the masses, was excellent in doing what he did. And he was genuinely homeless. Okay? If you listen to his speeches, you see how many plagiarism there is. Even the they are afraid of Bibi Netanyahu, Hitler had said this in German. And it's not because Bibi is Hitler, it's because they plagiarized from a creative work of speeches. It's like, hey, this is covered, so Hitler used it, so I will use it in that context. They are afraid. הם מפחדים. Adolf Hitler. I was shocked when I heard this. I was like, oh my God. There's so many things. Mein Kampf is just eugenics. It's the bloodline segregation that was in South African tribes before the apartheid. Before the apartheid, it's the same thing. That's Mein Kampf. Most of it, what is this? The kingdom, the royalty. Yes, what is the kingdom, the royalty? Do you think they don't want to expand the kingdom and the royalty? Germanic tribe, what do you think they were all that different from African tribe, from Inuit tribe? No, we're all Inuits. And then the question is, when you listen, and with the help of AI, you could listen to that in English even, or in your language. You could look for that. Then you see the world, yes, differently. Because if you're taken on by Hitler's enthusiasm, and you think that rape is resistance, you misidentify what is going on in this prison cell experiment that they're doing, but with you as an inmate or as a ward, which eventually, whichever side of the shocker you are, you will be on the other side too. Ask Lars, ask Geert Wilders. It was both sides of the shock. And even today, he has to do debates with the person that calls to kill him by every means necessary. Then he has to go to the parliament and have a heated debate with this person. What is that if not Putin like they put with the chicken fight, but with humans for them to fight to death? Death matches. Andrew Tate, human trafficker, absolutely. Absolutely, I'm the first to say that. I'm pro-military consent. I'm also aware that this person grew up with death matches where they would have to box people to fight to the death. Is that not expandable child adult? And people get hung off on, is this Israeli, is this that? Israel is the new Nazi, we get that. But if you don't go beyond that, you don't, first of all, you don't see Congo. Congo is not Israeli. 2027, all the eclipses on North Africa, the defluoridization of the water, the building A-bombs. Okay? Open your eyes, they're dealing with NATO. NATO is African as well right now. Finland, Sweden, all the countries that were neutral. World is changing. But I want you to look at this country. So nowadays Israel, in the past was Germany. Oh, the Germans will do it first, so we have to do the A-bomb. Then why do we try it on Japan? What did we explode in America? Because there were experiments in America. Okay? You think that the next German Nazi Germany will not be Palestine with the watermelon flag? Of course it is. It's set out to be. If you identify and you say, well, rape is not resistance, so what is going on here? Maybe human sacrifice, ritual. But why would they do that? Oh, because they don't want to have a war that will end all wars, World War I. But they said, this is the war that will end all wars. Do you think they did not say it when 7th of October started? Because they did. We're going to off with Gaza. How many years people saying, we're going to erase Gaza, solve the what? The Palestinian problem. Housing first, open dialogue. If they treat the crazy or they lock them up, we don't have to be more crazy than them. It's very simple. If we want, what will the land prefer? What is more harmonious for the ecosystem? What tribe lives more harmoniously? Not Hamula wars. If we fight these Hamula wars. Most of these Gazans wanted blue ID. Yeah, but they had to behave correctly. But who would show them how to behave correctly? What the people that didn't believe the female watchers that there's invasion planned? But they said the higher up, they tell us, for you cannot talk about this, or will be measures against you. And yes, they were targeted, these female watchers, 7th October, slaughtered in their houses, kidnapped, those that didn't die on the spot in the invasion. The higher, Wagner Fund. It's the same people that enable, and this is a very soft word, to the project, yes? For you to think that rape is resistance. Because if you think that way, you buy into the same Hitlerite idea of the perpetual war. This is what Julian Assange said years ago. They were trying to do this when Jeff Kennedy was assassinated. They're trying to do this for the world wars. And then every now and then, what I told you, magically, astrologically, we are at the years of following the Thema Mundi. So a lot of magicians, okay, not just Caitlin Koppak, they did some body butter stuff for fertility, for to have her first child, for I don't know, so to have your own opus, magnum opus, okay, which is lovely. And tending to the times that we are in, absolutely. But within the cult, they do these talismans. Of course they do. This is why she had so many troubles when she was working on this project. It's not just on fertility, right? We're saying talisman. They didn't want that outside the cult. Okay? Or at least they didn't want that in those ranks of the cult if they are affiliated. Okay, so the higher-ups, but not this. So all teachers abandoned her when she was working on this. Psychic, like this, like that. See her writing. Why are there white women following my account and so on and so what white women? Patriarchs following your account because you're doing birthing talisman outside of the cult. That's the talisman that they would use for to enslave people, for to show you for Michael Jackson. They say, oh, he's the grand pedophile. What is all the symbolism on the album Dangerous for Michael Jackson? Okay? The peacock, the earth, the Thema Mundi, the world, for the music. And and the years that they need Saturn in Capricorn. Saturn Capricorn every 28 years, but then after they do that, they need to consecrate the talisman. Yes, and to make it work for it, and then they begin to work with the talisman as they elect dates that correlate with Thema Mundi. Right now we're approaching new moon in Cancer on Sirius. So we have Sirius, we make a wish for good things to happen and so on. It's the new year, but they do other things. It's a birthing, and you can try to take it this portal to try to invert the energy and to do ritual sacrifices and so on. Human sacrifices, and work malefically. That's the Thema Mundi, the original. Yes, not the original, but this is how some of them use the Thema Mundi. It's not like what you buy Spear and Sundry when they open the... Okay? And a part of it is standing, what did I say? Reclaim the egregore. I said this before 7 October, say it after. Get to know the egregore, get to alchemize, reclaim the egregore. So you don't take the energy and you do whatever with it. You didn't want us speaking, you didn't want us living. You didn't want us doing astrology. We got our hands on Thema Mundi. And we are reclaiming your reset. We're doing our reset. For each person, for to dream with their dream, with their sovereignty, with their genesis. We got to the core of 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 the holy grail of the cult, and we reclaim it for we, the people, each person, for what they want in life that is in alignment, then is supported. Not this human sacrifice. The world. All of this symbolism, okay? And if you listen to Gigi Young, way before the war, she said way before she became baptized with the blood of Christ and so on, Christ consciousness is okay. But when she talks about it, there is the occultistic practice, and then there is the inversion of the occultistic practice. So it's a question for you to say, oh, I don't do occult at all. Somebody will do it behind the scene, or I do the occultistic version, that is the benefic. I'll go Rosh Satan, the head of Satan. A woman that was raped and murdered, not believed, became so enraged that her stare of the decapitated head became a talisman that washes away anybody who would try to rape, to murder, to discredit the truth, to get person out of the body, and to protect this truth. Head of Satan. Reclaimed. Uranus, god of the sky. Now it'll go, god of the sky is blinking. The thunder, the storm, the eurekas. Used to shock children and film them raped in movies? No, reclaimed. Used to shock people who would try to do this to children. A return to sender, known or unknown. Bringing back Tesla energy, Nikola Tesla, for your vehicles could be powered by lightning. Usually lightning is something we're afraid of. But taking that thing that we're afraid of, the shock, and making of it to empower. You want to tell me that Nikola Tesla was not shocked and electrocuted as a child, was not expandable child that grew up? I don't believe. For this invention, this came from the mind of person that took the frightening thing of electric shocks, of electricity, and said, no, I will not use it to rape, I will use it to power vehicles. Free energy. This is Uranus energy. This is also alcohol. So, when you understand very simple thing, rape, not resistance, and when you do that, is messing with your wealth. Another alcohol wisdom. Don't block your own wealth. When you do, when you perpetrator, you are messing with your wealth. Now, for the people that are tortured, that are born into expandable children, okay, and they have to be the worst, the most vigilant, vengeful, or they will die, then and they didn't find a way out of the cult, if some of them would die, would be tortured and so on. That's one thing, and many of them, okay, so what we deal with right now. But for you, the person who sits outside and say, I'm pro-Palestine, no, these rapes didn't happen, no, Most of the people at the demonstrations are that Shabak that you're looking for, that CIA, that Mossad, that global, the intelligence is global. Even when they say, oh, CIA tried to assassinate Assange, the intelligence is global. So the meaning is not that CIA tried to assassinate Assange, but the global intelligence tried to assassinate Assange. And global intelligence, by definition, is what all the intelligences are cooperating. That's the New World Order. It's not new. It's decades old, for they try to instill it. And every time they try to instill it, what? People just want more rights. Because they're awakened. Why am I paying property taxes? Why am I paying to live in a place? So yes, there are repairments to do, there are this, that is good to pay for people for their talent, so they are compensated, so it's good energy, yes. But to to reside in a place, why am I paying? And if I'm not slave, I don't get to reside in a place for not to be haunted, tortured, and killed and persecuted. It doesn't look like that's in my favor. That somebody can own land and I have to ask for permission for not to be slaughtered, to pay protection for this criminal organization? That doesn't look like it's in my favor. Why I can't store water? Why it's not legal to store water? We're worried of toxins. What toxins? We could power planes by lightning. What toxins? It's dangerous. Don't travel. It's not ecosystemic. We have this thing called sensories that they are sensitive to birds, and we can communicate with the birds, and we can fly with the birds and be powered by the nature. Why not this technology? And again, when you take this uranoalgal and you attune to it, and you begin to identify things, now you are unlocking the gates, okay, for wealth, for well-being, for joyous experience in your body, for your sensuality, for processing, for healing, for speaking up, for eurekas, okay, for the genius ideas, but not only to abolish trauma, but to live better in this life. Because if you're only fed by these stories that you hear and you accept, rape happens in war. Really? In what way the babies of 7th October were less important than the babies of Gaza? Nobody talked about these babies. Nobody that was not Israeli Hasbara, or the people you call Mossad, okay, or the leaders. Why are these babies less important than those babies? But when you do say, well, these babies not less important than those babies, then you can say, well, these babies Gaza not less important than these babies in Israel too. Now you have a point. And Uranus goes beyond class, nationality, gender, all of these things. It's the all-encompassing, okay? It's associated with the nervous system. Air. There's no boundaries that you can set in air. The boundaries that you know for these that were man-made, yes, but it's not borders that you can set. So we tend to, what is the common sense for everyone? Well, not to rape, not to slaughter children, not to sacrifice humans. Should be reasonable, right? Not when it's expendable children in Europe, royal blood, and not when it's in Africa, and not when it's in Gaza, not when it's in Ukraine, not when it's in Israel, not when it's in China, not when it's in South and North Korea. In USA, that's now having a birthday. But you have to identify this. You have to identify it, because otherwise you do run the risk of, yes, enabling. Okay? It makes sense that people will steal food at war. Doesn't make sense that people will rape people, torture people, sacrifice people at war. That, no. Because the one thing is for you to feed yourself so you can survive and live on for after the war. For the other thing is to make sure that the war will never end. And that's why they do that. That's why they do that. And this is global forces. But they want you to take a look at this local place when there is a global war, because it's a good distraction. Just like they wanted us to look at Nazi Germany, for not to look at the working concentration camps in America, for the Hiroshima and Nagasaki, for the inner apartheid in South Africa, the one that Mandela tended to, and managed to abolish a lot of apartheid because he dared to speak about this. San Procyon, the great denuclearification. For not to look that a Malawi chief woman abolished child weddings. Now, today, in these days. For not to spread the news. Oh, because then it's uncomfortable to deal with honor killings. With the many things that happened before, there was invasion in 7 October, but there was response to that invasion. They don't want you to talk about Maui, because then you understand that these slaves were used in Nova, but it's not comfortable because it's liberation for Palestinians. It's not. If you understand that, now you can tell you care about, let's say, I don't know, Palestinians, people Congo, okay, you care about this, the kidnapped people in Israel, you care about this. Now you understand what isn't liberation, what isn't war. Perpetual war is not the war where it's like the continuation of negotiation by other means so that you get back to the negotiation table and sort this out diplomatically, but this is for to create perpetual war. You see that if it is rape, it's because they want it for to everlasting war. That's why they do it. Partisans for doing the same thing as Hitler when they were raping Bulgarians. If you don't get that, you think partisans were heroes. What is Bella Ciao? One morning, yes, in the sun, the rise of day, oh beautiful, people were going joyously to their death. All the partisans that died for freedom by the dozens. And then there are the flowers and the graves and the scenery and the beautiful, beautiful music. That is in Italian and it is in German. You can say, oh, the song Bella Ciao in German is so beautiful, the resistance. Dozens of people walking into their death gleefully, joyfully, for freedom without... What's that dumb fuckery called this shit? But they were raping people. That was not resistance. That was cult. My grandfather was lucky that he was not targeted by them, and I don't know. Yes, I don't know what happened there or what they did so that he will get to Israel. Only to hear too bad that Hitler didn't finish all of you by some personally. Somebody get pissed at you at first. Oh, too bad Hitler didn't finish all of you. Jews to Jews. Okay, that's Israel for you. But But that's basically, yes, well, he was lucky. Relatively, not that it's very lucky. Yes, I have to deal with all of that. But what if partisans weren't raping people, torturing people, maybe human sacrificing people? Yeah? Maybe there would be actual resistance. Maybe they would have power over Nazis because they would have the support. All these people you slaughtered, they could resist Hitler with you. If they're not penalized for or being raped if they don't agree, it's like Inquisition. Why does the resistance also by Hamas look so much like the Spanish Inquisition? Maybe because it's funded by the same thing and it cut dividends to the Spanish. You're still in the Spanish Inquisition, my friend. It's just it's the same thing. It's just the same Spanish Inquisition for in Latin. Now they do it in Arabic. Or Partisani, joyously going to the death. They died for freedom. For freedom, you live. And you can see by the toxic strategies that they use to poison the souls of people, Mars and Taurus, and deprive them of land, and do perpetual war. But you see that and what I want you to take away from this video is not Shirley is mad. That's what I want you to take away from this video. If you got this from this video, then I did my job. That whether you see that Mein Kampf, perpetual war, in Hebrew, or in Arabic, or in watermelon flag, or in any African language, or in Asian language, or Korean language, or European language, or English, or any of the Englishes, or any of the flags, or any of the cultures, or any of the skins, or any of the blood types, or any of the indigenous people, or any of the colonizers, or any of the liberators that you know to identify, and are not fooled by the flag or the soccer football team or the culture. Okay, just not politically correct to say that the indigenous people some of tribes cannibalized on the enemies. And honor killed the child rights when they didn't want to be raped. Happens to the environment society within Israel. Must be messy. We're not ever ask the women. But not all women will tell you that. Only the women that sway away from this type of behavior. They have to be very diplomatic, to tiptoe. And so if you know to recognize this and you're not fooled by the image or by the flag or by the language, then you will see that when you see those red flags, what it says, resistance, it's liberation, it's this, it's rape. What's it? Enough of that. Now you begin to identify who are the freedom fighters. And how does liberation looks like? Different for different people, yes. Well, it's less, you know, when you talk about, I was a filmmaker when I was young, so when you talk about success, then for most of the job you don't see. You don't, when a tree grows, when it grows the roots, you don't see. Until you grow, you see a tree can sometimes be decades. So for most of the job, you don't see. It looks like nothing happens. This person lying all day in bed. The house is dirty. They can barely clean themselves. They can barely drink correctly, eat correctly. What are they doing? Holistic health practitioner. that must be a satire. No, it is not. They're genuinely dealing with what they're talking about in reality, not just playing a role. Not so glorious. Not so glorious. And they won't tell you I'm a freedom fighter. Listen, to stay alive, I have to speak. To stay in my body, I have to speak. Then I tend to that, I go to sleep, I wake up, and then I can shower. And then I can do the dishes, and then I can work the soil a little bit. And then another idea and another idea. But yes, a lot to tend to, of course. So now we take this Jupiter day, okay, for Jupiter approaching Aldebaran. Is a good chance to, with Aldebaran rising, with the new moon in Cancer, with the rise of Sirius, and now that we are abolishing perhaps outdated views of what is resistance, of what is freedom fighting, then we open ways to birth something, to ask for something upon Sirius rising, and Jupiter with Aldebaran, so it could also be materialistic, that is supported by a more spiritual connection. And for each and every one of you, it would be different. And now is a good time to purge what the outdated thing. And this is the reason I chose to begin with the story of my grandfather and the partisans that were unfortunately raping people in Bulgaria and very likely other places too. So we all tend to this in our lineages, okay, of who we thought were heroes, and for the more intricate story, to create this change and alchemy within ourselves, and so to generate really a fertile soil for being safe, for being free, and supporting being safe, being free. Whether you're Palestinians, or you're Jewish, or you're Israeli, or you're Ukrainian, or Congo, or North Korean, South Korean, a Finn, okay, Russian, American, yes, Dutch, Belgian, Moroccan, whatever, yes, African, you can take this and see it as key to being supported, and see it as key to being not alone with that, and as key to being validated, as key to access your experiences and heal, and as key to enhance your being safe and free. Because for the gods that we work with, or whether it's the Orishas or the northern gods or Hermes Trismegistus, again, you would see what the similarities of the symbolism, sometimes to the detail, that there's a lot, okay, even when we're atheistic, for sometimes what was your values, when you go to your values, you see what these values, they are represented for those people who believe in these gods, and those people who believe in these gods. If we can do that on the basis of life, rather than glorifying death and glorifying torture, abuse, rape, and giving it excuses by class, by this, by that, by trauma relief. Basil van der Kolk, this was a new type of satire, has committed a suicide. Then we have Better Life, and Sun is right now on Sirius. So As I will turn right now to, even with this Mars hour, Mars on the descendant, to just honor the year that was, and beginning to welcome in the year that will be, which is with the new moon. And so, the years that was in Sirius, it was very difficult for Europe, because Sirius was dim as Prasiatasio, another Bulgarian soldier. Saw, and indeed we saw the expansion of NATO, our army service, some people getting calls, recruitments, Sweden, Finland joining NATO, the war in Ukraine expanding, and the ongoing circus of expandable children that is both the left and right wing. Okay, when people remember Netherlands, remember that they don't remember, they won't remember Rutte when they said somebody called them on 7th October before they turned to their people. That was Bibi Netanyahu. But it was also time where tending to the things that we need to tend to could also be facilitated and open for the protecting of the voices, those who made, like me, a wish to do good for humanity and get away with that. So, although Sirius was dim, you could still wish on Sirius, and you could still be supported by the light of Sirius. And right now the sun conjunct in it. So I ask to clear the path for the upcoming new year and to receive the relevant omens for the best wishes to ask for upon the new moon, and to keep safeguarding. Okay, moon decreasing is good for shielding, safeguarding the truth and the processes of speaking up, protect our whistleblowers, myself included. And great reverence for the astrologers that made this video possible. Yes, purge and cleanse. I think this is the salt bath time of the year, and make way for new, and hope that we'll see the rise of Sirius this year, and upon this week, and upon the new moon in Cancer, for to make the wishes, for us to make the right wishes for us, the best wishes for us, and for them to follow through. So I've been very, very grateful. It was not an easy year. Yes, half Israeli, half Dutch, you can imagine. We're very, very grateful because I made the wish to do good for myself and humanity and get away with that, and so far, and for that to be continue to be protected, so we can tend to the truth. If you're a believer of Christ consciousness, if you're working with Orisas, if you're working with Northern gods, if you're atheistic, then yes, would call in for the values of dignity of human lives, human rights, and with nature. Yes, we're part of nature. So thank you for watching.